Welcome back to the YouTube channel, guys. It's been quite a while. The last time I recorded was in Canada with James, and if you haven't seen that vlog, go and watch that. But since then, I've tried to do a few educational videos, long ones, and it just hasn't worked. So my thought process going forward is to keep the vlog style videos up, but then add like educational snippets in between. I know everyone's attention span isn't great nowadays, so I want to just put in maybe somewhere between 5 minutes within the video to give you some education on stuff as we go through. And who knows, I might do an educational video later, like depends on what you guys want to see from me. So if you do watch my vlogs, please comment down below. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of intertwine it with today's vlog. And we've got a training day today. So it's currently 6:30 a.m. and I'm going to head to Muscle Hut to train with one of my clients. So I'm going to film some bits there. I'll maybe link up the mics and yeah, just show you what we get up to. Then it is just a busy work day for me. So back home. Friday today, so Fridays usually, I've got some check-ins on Friday. It's not my busiest days. Monday, Tuesday are my busiest check-in days, then it kind of tapers down as the week goes on. So today's more about getting some content creation done, getting my podcast up, and just kind of rounding the week up, or rounding the week off. Saturday, I will do a little bit of work on the Saturday, like tomorrow I've got a posing session. But usually I'm doing either programming or just bits and pieces on a Saturday. So yeah, anyway, enough rambling from me. I'm going to enjoy this coffee and then I'll catch you at the gym. Right, so we're going through a little bit of a training commentary here for this push session with my client Mohammed. I didn't actually film the first two movements in this workout. So we had incline Atlantis chest press and a chest fly. Chest fly, sorry, was first as a primer. And then we were moving into this Cybex shoulder press. So a couple of warm-up sets here. My client Mohammed warming up as well. And the main cue here for getting him into position was just making sure those elbows and wrists were in a line, and also just getting that depth as well, making sure that we're bringing the handles all the way to the eye line there. Okay, this was us, or me, moving back up and then going into a top set. So this has gone up by around about 2.5 kilos either side. Micro plates, I honestly am a big fan. I think they're useful, especially when you're doing pushing movements like this, and it's not going to be going up by like 5 kilos a time. Use those 2.5s. 1.25, maybe not going to get like huge returns, and you could go a little increment up a little bit quicker. So 2.5s are your friend in this situation. So not a pretty sloppy final rep, to be honest with you. You can see I'm moving and shifting a little bit. So going into next week, I really do want to tidy that up. So I actually forgot to record Mohammed's top set here. So this was a back off set that he did. As you could see, like the warm-up set there was 2 plates. So I think Mohammed worked up to like 2.5 plates for his top set. And then this was his back off set, getting in more reps, around about a 10 to 12 repper in this set. So we're continuing to go through. I'm just kind of showing him where that true failure point is. So a little bit of slowing of the concentric now, but he still keeps going. And then he has at least one more, hitting a little bit of a brick wall in that final rep. And then completely hitting failure and me taking an assisted rep for him there. So moving on to our next exercise, we moved into a flat press. Again, I like to go from an incline to a shoulder and then to a flat. If I just go straight from an incline to a flat press, the chest will be fried and I won't be able to manage the same weight on that chest press. So moving on to this flat one. This is an Atlantis press. And we're taking a more tucked position with the elbows in this as well. This is Mohamed's top set. Again, you can see that concentric really slowing down, so we know he's approaching a failure point. And again, an assisted rep. And that's the beauty of training with someone now and again, is getting some of those forced reps in. And here was my top set. Again, working a little bit lighter than what I was working with the incline chest press earlier on in the session, which I'm annoyed I forgot to film that. But taking more reps here. So like the rep range is slightly higher. So the incline I was working 6 to 8, 8 to 10. This 8 to 10, and then a 12 to 15 on the back off. Yeah, and getting to a failure point there. Okay, moving on to some of the more like accessory based movements. And this was one that I was helping Mohamed with today, was getting his tricep X cross right. So we're focusing on trying to like align the elbow position and that direction of force with the cable, so that he was effectively hitting the tricep. So you can see me explaining here like what to do, and also setting that up with a cuff as opposed to just holding onto the balls. You're going to find if you hold on to those yellow balls there, as it gets heavier, you're going to be focusing on just trying to grab the balls, and you're going to feel it in your hands, and you're going to slip as well. So I much rather use some cuffs in this movement. And again, you can see there like the alignment of the cables is with the alignment of the direction of push out. Keeping the elbows nice and pinned, focusing on getting the elbows stretched, so as much elbow flexion as possible, then extending out to get the triceps nice and short. And that is us approaching that failure point. You can see it slowing down there, and just finishing off. At the end of that, I think that might have been a bit of a rest pause set. So yeah, we're getting Mohamed into a better position here. Before he can still look to kind of maybe have those elbows out slightly further, and then kind of, again, just keeping that like cable in line with that direction and push, and keeping the control there as well. Before, Mohamed was kind of like moving his elbows up and down in this movement and not really getting that degree of elbow flexion required to effectively challenge the triceps in this movement. Okay, so as we're moving on here, we're moving on to a machine lateral raise. So this was, I think, 3 sets, and we did like a descending pyramid, so an 8 to 10, 10 to 12, and then the final set was a 12 to 15 rest pause. Top cues here is my feet are actually quite far back on the foot pad there, and then I'm keeping my hips back and then leaning into it slightly, again just so I can align those side delt fibers nicely with that direction of push out. My focus here is not to raise the elbows up, but to actually just direct the elbows out, holding just slightly at the top to get the contraction and the pause, and then controlling the weight on the way down, and yeah, ensure my hands are out in front as well, so that I'm getting a nice stretch out the bottom. I also recommend on something like a lateral raise movement, just focusing on, like at the end, to get more progress, just do some partials. Like on that rest pause set, what I'll tend to do is take that 5 to 10 second rest, get a few more reps in, and then I will finish off with some partials as well. You don't necessarily need to count those partials or write them down in your logbook, but it is a nice way just to ensure that like your side delts have been completely rinsed through the movement. Such a small muscle group which recovers pretty quickly, so adding those intensifiers in is absolutely fine. And here's Mohamed going through his set. So we were just watching because he was tending to lean back just a little bit, and then some of that, if you're kind of like externally rotating the elbows out, will go onto the backs of your shoulders. So I was trying to encourage him to keep his hips back and remain fixed in the position, and I think he made those improvements going into the following set. And just giving a little bit of a spot here just to get the elbows up. And that was pretty much our session. We finished with some arms, which I didn't record, but there is some clips from the session today. So we are back after a really, really epic training session this morning with my client Mohamed. Now, Mohamed started with me before Christmas time, before the new year, and I really, really I'm excited to start working with clients who are ready to take action straight away, as opposed to wait until the new year. And another cool thing about our initial call with Mohammed was he was like, I'm not looking for a short-term fix. I'm ready to invest. I'm ready to take or do whatever it takes, take that long-term route to see the results I want. And that kind of segues nicely onto what I'd like to chat about and go into a little bit more depth into in this episode. And I'm just going to keep this like a short little segment of today's video, but I do want to provide the education as well. So timelining a physique goal, it's so important. And I think the trap a lot of people fall into is that short-term thinking, year on year, as opposed to a longer term vision or a longer term purpose and goal with their physique. And the problem you might face is like you just go through these short cycles. So it's bulk up until Christmas time and then cut from January till summer, okay? You keep repeating that year on year. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to see much of a change to your physique. And what you need to really think about is actually, where do I really, really want to take my physique, and what do I want to do with that as well? So for a lot of people, they've been doing it for a long time. They might go down the avenue of competing because that is the step required to level up, okay? If you're someone who's been thinking about it, I honestly think you should just take that leap of faith. There was a period before 2019, 3 years prior to that I just kept putting it off. And then eventually it took someone else to come up to me, my coach at the time, to say, I think you should go for this goal. And I said, right, let's commit to it. And as a result of that one show, my physique accelerated because I then had a purpose with what I was doing with my training. So first and foremost, get that long-term goal. It doesn't have to be competing. It could be simply to look a certain way, but you have to link why it's so important to you. You have to sort of redirect your values towards that goal, and also like your purpose of hitting that, okay? If it doesn't mean that much to you, you're not gonna stick with it long term. So set the long-term vision, long-term goal, and then work back the way, okay? Now, if you're someone who's like, right, I've got a certain idea of what I want to look like in my head, but you're like, I'm not sure how to get there and how long it will take, get in touch with someone who's knowledgeable, like a coach, an experienced coach. So please feel free to get in touch with me, and I will give you an idea or a timeline of how long that's going to take, okay? Because you might be in the dark and of how long it's going to take to get there. Simply reach out for some support. And I know that initial step's scary, but guess what? Like, you're going to make more scary decisions along the way. Change isn't easy. Like, there's going to be hardships along the way to getting that physique. So that would be the initial point of change, is reach out and get some support. You don't have to go like one-to-one coaching with me. Like, if you reach out, I'll literally give you that timeline and how to get there. So once you got a long-term goal, break back the individual phases to get there, okay? And typically we're probably looking to simplify things, looking at 3 main phases, I would say: gaining phases, cutting phases, and potentially maintenance phases as well. So for most people, they will need to go through a longer gaining phase, okay? Now, it depends on where you're starting from. If you've got a lot of body fat to lose, okay, there's no point of going into a gaining phase, because you're just going to accumulate more body fat, and maybe within the period of, 10 to 12 weeks, you're going to have to pull back again, and you're going to have to go into a cut, because you've already reached the point where it's no longer productive to keep gaining weight. It depends very much on your start point. If you're at a very lean start point, then I would get straight away into a nice long gaining phase. Now, I don't know what it is about things nowadays, but like, a lot of people are kind of navigating down the route of just staying at maintenance. And I would ask yourself, like, how many people you know who've built epic physiques have just continued to stay at a maintenance point, okay? Of course, there's new literature, new data out there to suggest you don't need an excessive surplus to grow muscle, and I'm not saying that either. I think you should take the time with that gaining phase, 30 weeks plus, to stay in a small surplus, gain at a nice gradual rate, and then come down. This is why it takes so long, is a lot of people think the gaining phase will be 20 weeks long, when in actuality it could be 30, it could be 40 weeks of gaining to get the required muscle mass on, okay? It takes a long time. So everyone should be striving to get into that gaining phase, but to get there, it depends on your start point, okay? Once you've been through that initial gaining phase, what does the rest of the journey look like, okay? So maybe from then on, it looks like a small mini cut to get you into a place which is productive again. At the end of the gain phase, body fat might have accumulated to a point which is slightly uncomfortable. You might be at all times high strengths, but potentially that strength's starting to plateau out a little bit. So the mini cut might come next, and then that might be followed by a shorter period of gaining, again, a gradual rate, into a longer cut to get that body transformation. Or it could look like that mini cut into a maintenance phase, and then into a longer term cut. It just depends on you. It depends on the data that you're collecting along the way, which is important. But I think importantly, you should have that timeline, okay? For that long-term goal, that timeline will vary slightly. It's because it's such a long timeline, it's going to be a rough outline, a rough plan to begin with, but there can be some variance on how long you stay in a gaining phase. You shouldn't just say, I'm going to do 25 weeks and stop at 25 weeks just because that's what you set on the timeline. If you've still got room to grow, continue on for another 5 weeks, okay? So there can be some variance with a longer timeline. When it comes to a shorter timeline, like a prep, if you're looking to get into stage ready or stage levels of leanness, that short time frame, there'll be less variance on changes there, okay? So it might be 1 to 2 weeks difference as opposed to maybe 4 to 5 weeks, okay? Now, what I will say is just get in touch with someone who knows what they're talking about when it comes to this. Like, drop me a message. I'd be more than happy to lay out a timeline for you towards that goal that you have in your head and kind of talk through it with you, okay? There's only so much I can do in a video like this when the goal becomes very specific to the individual and very tailored to the individual. So please feel free to drop me a message or, you know, just hit me up on Instagram. Okay, guys, I hope that helped. I hope that gives you an idea of the fact that, right, I shouldn't be looking to just go year to year with the same process of bulking, cutting. There might be a little bit more to it, and I should be thinking a little bit more long term. Okay, guys, I'll catch you in a bit. So guys, I think we're gonna wrap up today's vlog there, just as I'm prepping my last couple meals of the day. But hopefully this was insightful for you, not only on the sort of training commentary, but the timelining piece as well. It's January, it's coming towards the end of January, and if you feel like you just don't have that plan in place, get in place today, right? So start getting a pen and paper, writing it down. As I've already mentioned, you're more than welcome to jump on a call with me to discuss the plan moving forward. I will link my Instagram down below, or at least direct you to my Instagram handle, and you can drop me a message there, or drop in the comment box timeline, and I will drop me a message and I'll see how I can help you out. But guys, thank you for tuning in to today's vlog, and I will be getting some more uploads, more frequent uploads. I'm planning, this is one of my goals for 2026, is to get more frequent uploads on YouTube. And I just need to keep rolling them out. I gained a little bit of momentum towards the back end of last year, then kind of dropped that a little bit in November, December time. So I will be getting more uploads as much as I can. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.